Hello, all. This is Mary from Big on Books, and welcome to the Taylor Swift book tag. So, I love Taylor Swift. I basically love every song she does. And I got to see her in concert last year, which was really exciting. She played one of my favorite songs, 15, on acoustic guitar, which I really loved. I was hoping she'd bring out the guitar for something. So when I found this tag, I was like, gotta do this tag, gotta do this tag, gotta do this tag. So that's what I'm doing today. So we are never, ever, ever getting back together. Excuse my dance moves. So we are never, ever getting back together. For this, I have to find a series I thought I was in love with, but I ended up having to break up with it. And this is the Maximum Ride series. How many endings does a series need? Like, the first three were fine. The first three was great. It was great as a trilogy. It should have stayed a trilogy. But then, you have books like 4, 5, 6, however many there are. And on the last 3 books, there's the final Maximum Ride, the final Maximum Ride, the final Maximum Ride. Eventually, it got to a point where I just stopped reading them. I did not read the last book. I thought the second to last book was a terrible ending, but it was a good enough ending for me to stop reading the books. So I stopped reading them. And now the first 3 books are good, but I can't find myself loving this series or really even liking the last few books. It's just terrible. Losing him was blue like I've never known. Missing you is dark gray all alone. Red. Find a book with a red cover. Seeing red. 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 There we go. It is by Frank Bedore. It is the second in the Looking Glass Wars trilogy, which is a Alice in Wonderland kind of, not retelling, but it's kind of a different story. And it is signed. It is signed. And I love it. It is signed. And it's in red too. Best day with you today. A book that makes you feel nostalgic. Now, I have 2 for this. And the first one is Twilight, and it is a very bent up copy of Twilight, but I love it. It just makes me feel nostalgic for when people were telling me to read it and love it, and I did love it. It just reminds me of those 8th grade high school, like freshman year, sophomore year books, years, because I really love those years, and I really love this series. And then the second one is obviously, it's got to be Harry Potter. Like, I was a child when I started reading these books. These books ended when I was like, 13, something like that, 13, 14. I love these books. They will always be my favorite books. It is just really a hard thing to put away when you read them when you were 8 and they basically started your whole reading career. It's a love story, baby, just say yes. Pick a book with forbidden love. Now this will be Vampire Academy and Bloodlines, because Vampire Academy, it is 2 guardians, and one is like 17 or something, and the other is 30 something. And there's a huge age gap, and there's an age gap, and it's inappropriate, and nobody likes it, except for Rose and Dimitri, who like each other, and Alyssa's fine with it. Adrian isn't, but Adrian has his own problems and bloodlines because he's a Moroi. And he falls in love with Sydney, who's an alchemist, and alchemists and vampires are just no. So when Sydney and Adrian, happen, it just kind of is a forbidden love thing, and it's kind of a thing throughout Rochelle Mead's Vampire Academy Bloodlines things. Forbidden romance is all around. Yay! I knew you were trouble when you walked in. I knew you were trouble. Find a book with a bad boy character that you couldn't help but love. And I really don't. This is a hard question. It took me a while to figure it out. And even now, I still don't feel like he's bad. He's more evil. And he isn't one of those like punk people who like who has that bad boy persona and then turns out to be good. It's Kato from the Hunger Games. And hold your horses before you turn this video off, go to somebody else's channel, blah, blah, blah. I feel like Kato is very misunderstood. He has been born and raised to be in the Hunger Games, to do all this killing, to be ruthless. And at the end, he is just basically kind of giving it all up. And it's one of those things where you really feel sorry for him and you really love him. Not really, but I just love him. Innocent. I forget how the song goes. You're just an innocent. Pick a book that someone ruined the ending for me. Now, I'm just going to give a shout out to the family friends who willingly gave up the answer after only like 3 questions of me and my sister trying to get them to tell us who dies in Half-Blood Prince, because we hadn't gotten that far yet. And they cracked and answered under an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old's questioning. So, congrats, guys. Everything. I forgot how everything has changed. It's gone. Yikes. Find a character that has been through massive character development. And it has to be Alec from City of Bones. It's kind of an obvious one. But basically, in the beginning, he's this hard-headed boy who tries to push everyone except for like Jace and his family away. He's in the closet, and throughout this series, he gets more comfortable with himself. He's still a little like unsure of who he is, who he wants to be, but he goes through massive with his sexuality and all of Clary's being and his feelings for Jace. You belong with me. Have you ever thought just maybe? You belong with me. You belong with me. Favorite Taylor Swift song ever. Besides another one coming up. Most anticipated release. And I was going to say the final 100 Oaks book for this, which is coming up for air. But I feel like I've talked a lot about 100 Oaks. And I also thought of another one, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. And it's in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And if you have not read this series, get on it quick. You will seriously binge read this series. It is really fantastic. It is really great. And I read the series in like a week, and I need the next book. I need this final book. Please. I can't wait until May. I need it now. Forever and always. Yeah. Favorite book couple for forever and always. And this is going to be my ultimate OTP, Harry and Ginny from, obviously, Harry Potter. I just feel like Harry and Ginny go very well together, and I love them so much, and I love how he broke up with her to keep her away from danger, and I just love how her character has gone from being this like little girl, his best friend's tiny little sister who had a crush on him, and then became this lovely woman who kind of dials it back a little bit and just kind of became herself, didn't focus her entire life around Harry, and that's when he started seeing her. And I feel like he put her needs above his in relations to her safety, and like above what he wanted was to be with her. And I love that. And plus they got to be friends first, which is always a plus. Said it in a simple way. 4 a.m. the second day. How strange that I don't know you at all. So Come Back Be Here is which book I'd most likely never lend out. And I don't really lend out any books except to my best friend or my family. But the books that you'll never get, which are new books and signed books. And yeah, I picked up 100 Oaks books, so what? So, Miranda Keneally, signed book. You will never get Defending Taylor. You will never get Seeing Red. You will never get All the Bright Places. You will never get signed books. That is my one rule. I do not lend out signed books. So, if you guys ever want to borrow these, you are not getting these. These I paid good money and met amazing authors for. You will never get these. Here's the reason for the teardrops on my guitar. The only one who's got enough of me to break my heart. So for teardrops on my guitar, I have to pick a book that made me cry. Now, that's a whole lot of books. And I'd have to put a separate video on books that made me cry, which I might do. This isn't a book that made me cry the most, because that kind of goes to like The Fault in Our Stars and Mark of Athena. Mark of Athena, I was spoiled, but I still cried like a baby at the end. But this book, Dragonfly and Amber, sob fest. I was just like, no, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. I was so mad at the beginning of this book. I was so upset. I was like, why is this going on? What is happening? And I sobbed. I was like 10 or 20 pages in, and I was just like, I've cried twice already, and it isn't even the beginning, and it isn't even like 10% through the book. Why? What's gonna happen the rest of the book that, like, the first 20 pages made me cry twice? Why am I, what, how many more times am I gonna cry by the end of this 800-something page book? And, you know, the rest of the books, I just gotta probably hold in my tears. But this one, so far, has been, the most tear-worthy of the books, I find, for the first 3. Stay, stay, stay. I've been loving you for quite some time. So stay, stay, stay is find a book you want to go on forever. And for this, I chose Fangirl. And Fangirl is just one of those books where you can relate to a lot. Kath just wants to write fan fiction and read and be in her own little world. So it's basically me. Kath is basically me. And I just feel like if this book were to go on forever and ever and ever, that it would be a perfect book. It would still be perfect no matter what. And then the last one is All Too Well. Find a book series that you wish was longer. And this comes to no surprise with Harry Potter. And I am not talking about the Cursed Child kind of book. I'm not talking about that. It's not even technically a book. It's a script. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about actual novel length, this kind of book with pictures and descriptions and blah blah blah, said Harry, not Harry, 2 dots and then blah 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 blah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking like novel length. So in this video I sang, I danced badly, and I rambled and yelled a lot about books, which is basically my life. So don't forget to like and subscribe and do the Taylor Swift book tag yourself. I know it's been 3 years. I haven't been on YouTube 3 years. I've been on it like a year and a half, maybe 2. I don't even think it's that. But yeah. And I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye.